Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Fandomology, where fandoms collide. And welcome back to this week's open panel discussion. We are going to be talking about what makes a good mystery story. So, give me a second here. We're going to go ahead and I got to plug all this stuff in the places I usually do. I'm running a little bit behind here, but we'll get started here shortly. Now, you'll notice that I haven't put the StreamYard link in the chat yet, and that's because I just wanted to reiterate one more time some of the rules for these open panels going forward and sort of why they're there. So basically, I've had some people both over social media and in real life come to me and present ways that they think that the open panels could be done better, and I decided to um take those suggestions. Discord told me to slow down for a second, and that's kind of what I'm basing these rules on. So let's see. So I'm going to just read. Whoa, that was a bit loud. So I'm going to read these rules just real quick. Of course, they're in the description of the stream too, but I'm just going to read them off real quick just so that we're all on the same page. So the rules are as follows. Number 1, no malicious jabs and insults directed at the host or other panels will be tolerated. And that's like a direct sort of FU to either myself or anyone else on the panel. And basically just saying F you, your opinion stinks, I don't agree with you and I'm going to make you feel bad for it. That sort of thing. Number 2, all panelists have to have some form of headphones on. I know that I've had some people tell me that I know they don't have headphones, and I understand that, but as long as there's no background noise, I can let the headphones thing slide a little bit. But if you're having blatant background noise due to the lack of your headphones, that is a problem. Number 3, kind of the same thing. All background noise must be kept to an absolute minimum. This includes TVs, computers, other people talking in the background, etc. And if something like that, like say for example, someone walks into the room and they're saying something, just try and mute yourself. It's something that I try and do myself. Number 4, and this is a big one, if the stream is about a certain topic, please only join the panel if you have something to contribute to the discussion. And that is, again, another rule that I try to enforce upon myself with other people's streams, because yes, I do like appearing on other people's streams and I like saying hi to them. But if they're talking about a topic that I know nothing about, then what use am I to be there? So that's kind of why I've carried that over to here. Now, obviously, there will be some certain open panels that don't have a topic at all, in which that rule really doesn't apply. But for streams like tonight, it applies. Let's see. Number 5, all panelists must refrain from talking over other panelists so that we can keep the conversation flowing at a good pace. And kind of tacked onto that one, you're going to see a new way of presenting where I have these different layout buttons here at the bottom of my screen on StreamYard. I've never used them before, but when we start getting some panelists in here, you'll see me use it, where one person will be like up big on the screen like I am, and then everyone will be kind of small to the side. That is how we will determine who is able to speak. Like when I'm asking a question, of course, if we're just having an open discussion, then it'll be normal. But if I'm asking a question to a specific person, I will essentially give that person front and center on stage. Let's see. And then the last one, if you have to leave the stream for any reason, please let me know in whatever way possible. And if it's temporary, please mute yourself and turn off your camera. That one's pretty self-explanatory. Now, breaking these rules, unfortunately, will have consequences. First offense, I'm going to give you a verbal warning. Second offense, I will remove you from the panel for 5 minutes. Third offense, you're done. And if you reach that third offense twice, unfortunately, I will not be welcoming you back to an open panel. So I just wanted to tell everyone about that before we went further and before I put the StreamYard link in the chat, which I'm working on right now. As always, the link will be pinned in the chat. So I just posted it. And let me get that pinned. So I've really enjoyed these sort of, I guess for lack of a better expression, story dissection type streams where we look at different aspects of different types of stories and talk about why they work. And we've got our first panelist coming in here now. Glenn, how's it going?
What's up?
Not much. Doing well. Do you have your headphones with
Doing
you?
well. Earbud in there.
Perfect. Thank you. So
How you doing
you
today,
really
Paul?
doing well. You really didn't miss much. I was just reiterating the rules to everyone, and then I just put the stream link in the chat. So we're talking about tonight what makes a good mystery story. So I kind of chose this one because I like the trend we've been doing with these open pop-in streams of taking different elements of a story and just kind of breaking it down and examining it. So the first time we did it on stories that are good versus evil versus more shades of gray. The second one was how do you make a good villain? Tonight we're going to talk about how do you make a good mystery.
I
So
was only there for. I wasn't there for the first one, the good versus evil thing. I know that.
I gotcha. So as always, our friend Kobe had sent his take on it, and I'm going to go ahead and read that. So Kobe, if you're watching, here's what you had to say. He says, honestly, in my opinion, what makes a mystery good are some key factors. The catalyst for the mystery, factors surrounding it, i.e., evidence/factors playing into the mystery, and the biggest one I think is how well it gets the reader/viewer hooked into trying to solve it themselves. One of the best examples of a mystery is The Sixth Sense, and he says to include a spoiler warning, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. So there's your spoiler warning. Where in the film, after Bruce Willis's character is shot in the intro, we follow him as he tries to help the kid with the titular Sixth Sense. And at first glance, people rarely, if ever, acknowledge his existence, despite him being there. But if you look closer at some scenes, such as there being an object of red or the room suddenly going cold, those are the clear indicators of paranormal activity. And near the end, Willis's movie wife is draped in a red blanket as she drops the wedding ring, and that's when Bruce realized that he didn't die hard, but funny, but he was killed in the movie's intro. That is a good twist in itself because of the mystery of having the audience pay closer attention to the details in the background. However, in terms of literature, it's purely up to the reader to figure out the mystery's answer for themselves by looking at the evidence beforehand. And I do agree. I think you've got to look at all of the elements that make up a mystery to really understand how to make a good mystery story. So, Glenn, what's your take on this? And again, just to demonstrate, this is the layout now, Glenn. The floor is yours.
Well, I gotta agree with Kobe on some of them points. I mean, there's complexity and mysteries as well as any other read. You gotta know. You gotta know like what clues you have to acquire in order to solve said mystery. I mean, I'm gonna take Scooby Doo for example. Mystery Inc. does that all the darn time.
Mm-hmm.
They gotta gather up every single clue. They gotta even in like shows like Law and Order, NCIS, etc. They got they got to gather up clues as to like who done it, and it takes a while because they have to like said person has their side of the story, and then they interview Joe first. Joe tells his side of the story, and then they go to they go to Paul, a different Paul, not you, Paul.
Of
Um,
course.
they go to the guy named Paul. Tells his side of the story, and then we go to like Leah's side of the story, and all
Hmm.
some of the people who are the detectives, for example, Holmes, Watson, Nancy Drew, and that they'll pick out the clue, pick out the certain things that will possibly acquire them to solve said mystery. Which
Right.
that's complexity right there, because
Hmm.
each mystery I've seen or peeked at, or if anybody's like read StreamYard, and YouTube, and every like I said, every key component that's in the acquirements that the detective or anybody that's helped solve the mystery, those key components get uh, picked out. That way, the mystery can be solved, and that's pretty much
Okay.
in a nutshell.
Okay. And I think all of that, you definitely mentioned Scooby Doo, and we are definitely going to talk about that. Real quick though, I do need to call you out. I hear Wheel of Fortune in the background. Is it
I'm
possible that
sorry.
you're able to turn the TV down or go to another room?
Okay. Oh, you're good.
Yeah, tell your fiance it's not her fault. It's just the circumstance.
It's okay.
You just got so but
I'm
anyways,
not.
all right, thank you. So So yeah, you definitely mentioned Scooby Doo, and we'll get into that one for a second. So Scooby Doo is basically all about mysteries. Granted, mysteries of a more paranormal sort of thing, which I know. So I'll be honest, I'm not as well versed in mysteries type stories as I am like just straight up action stuff or things like that, but I'm fascinated by mystery stories, which is kind of why I chose this topic. And again, Scooby Doo is a great, if ever so slightly simple example of mystery stories because it's Scooby and the gang showing up at some random location that's being haunted by some sort of ghost, and they got to figure out what's going on. And usually it's like the most and usually it's like the least unassuming person that it ends up being, right?
Like it could end up being like Old Man Joe or
Eh,
Jewel, a girl named Julie or something.
mhm. So, let's look at this example for a good mystery. Kind of branching on that. Did you ever see, Glenn, the movie Batman: Mask of the Phantasm?
Actually, I did not.
Okay, so it's one of the movies set in Batman the Animated Series. In fact, I believe it's the only one of those movies to actually get a theatrical release, if I'm remembering correct. So basically, I already said I already played the spoiler alert clip, so I'll do it again. So basically, the plot of that movie is there is this villain called the Phantasm that is going around and killing different people, and Batman, of course, is trying to stop them, but the Phantasms, if I'm remembering the story correct, because it's been a minute since I've seen it, the Phantasms' methods are kind of similar to Batman's, where the Phantasm is able to just appear and disappear at random. Heck, people have tried shooting at the Phantasm, and it literally just disappears in a cloud of smoke. Come to find out, one of the targets of the Phantasm is the Joker. And so Batman has to essentially stop the Phantasm before the Joker gets killed, but of course, the Joker still ends up fighting Batman as usual. And come to find out, spoiler alert, the identity of the Phantasm is this lady named Andrea, who was one of Bruce Wayne's old girlfriends. And if I'm not mistaken, she actually figured out that Bruce Wayne was Batman at some point in the movie leading up to the climax.
Hmm.
And so just seeing, of course, Batman, who is the world's greatest detective, figuring out how figuring out who the Phantasm was and how to stop them was really good. Another great example, of course, is we'll say Batman Arkham City, the game, where Batman's whole mission is to figure out what Protocol 10 is, how Joker's illness factors into it, what the League of Assassins wants, how Hugo Strange figured out that Bruce Wayne is Batman, and it all wraps up in a nice little neat little bow at the end of the game when you figure out that it was the League of Assassins, of course, that was behind the whole thing.
Yeah, and we
So
all know. We all know Batman was also named the world's greatest detective by Sherlock Holmes himself.
actually, I didn't know that.
I heard that from a while back. I can't remember who told me it, but
That must have been like one of the old comics that came out in like the 30s or something. But
probably.
anyways, though, as far as other mysteries in stories, I mean, you may not necessarily associate them with, but Harry Potter, a lot of those books, if not all of them, have mysteries in them that Harry has to figure out. Like, for example, who opened the Chamber of Secrets? Or
Or
who put Harry's name in the Goblet of Fire?
who's
Or
who's Tom Marvolo Riddle, and he ends up finding out who that is, or
exactly, or who the Half-Blood Prince is. They're all just different mysteries that Harry has to solve. Heck, arguably Goblet of Fire is just one big mystery. Who put Harry's name in the Goblet of Fire? And of course, Harry
yeah,
trying to figure that out, of course, through the Triwizard Tournament and the reveal of Barty Crouch Jr. as being the
mhm.
person who put his name in under the guise, of course, of Moody. It was a really good reveal. Yes, even in the movie, which a lot of people say that is one of the worst of the Harry Potter movies, but you know what? I still like it.
I mean, the books tell a lot of difference between the movies. It's simple as that. They if you uh if you end up having like a whole book into the movie, you might as well just put that sucker into like 3, 4 parts just to even justify what the heck is going on. But I see what I mean. Another probably you could also go mystery, probably the old board game Clue.
Exactly, which they made a movie of that, depending on where you went to see it, had different endings to it.
Hmm.
But yeah, that even the board game itself is perfect because you've got all these different characters that you can play as, and in this little envelope, you've got, the suspect, you've got the location, and you've got the murder weapon, and you've got to figure out who those are.
Hmm.
By the way, hello to
Yeah,
DJ Ronnie G, who says nice microphone and good evening, gentlemen. Thank you.
How you doing?
So let's take that the archetypal murder mystery. So the first thing to figure out in a mystery is what's the mystery even going to be? So in a murder mystery, it's of course who done it. That's literally the term for these types of stories. Who done it?
Any mystery is basically who done it. You could set up. You could almost set it up like, say, Bob goes into the school gymnasium, finds somebody dead hanging from the wall. Who in the
Mhm.
world? Who in the world? What in the world happened? And who could have possibly done it? Or did the person do it himself? It's just question upon question upon question that they have to.
Exactly.
That said person, say it's Agent Gibbs from NCIS, or even Sherlock Holmes himself, or hell, even Doctor Who could possibly do a mystery or two.
I'm unfortunately not very familiar with Doctor Who, but I could see it.
Right,
But
right.
getting back to how you set up a mystery, you've got to figure out, using the murder mystery as an example, who is it that's going to be the murderer,
Mm-hmm.
and who are the suspects that are also going to be suspected of it. And how do you write, basically, at least the way it makes sense to me, you almost have to write a murder mystery backwards. Like, okay, here's who it's going to be, here's how they did it. Now, how do we write backwards from that and misdirect the audience into not guessing it right away? Because you don't want to make a mystery that is just given away within like the first 5 minutes. You want to keep the reader slash viewer guessing. And so how do you do that? Misdirection. So what do you think, Glenn, are some great examples of misdirection in different mystery stories?
Misdirect. I'm gonna have to honestly think about that because misdirection is one of the main keys. Because, like you've said before, you don't want to solve said mystery, and like you don't want like your mystery story end up being like a 5-page kids book.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want it. You don't want to like say, "Oh, this guy did it." The end. You you gotta cut. Like I said before, like the complexity just that could possibly lead to the misdirection. But I'm gonna have to honestly think about that.
Well, again, I think a great okay, so here's a good idea for an example of misdirection. Did you ever watch Teen Titans growing up?
If it's the original one, yes. If it's the
Okay,
Go
yeah,
one,
that's the one I'm talking about, the original. We do not acknowledge Teen
yes.
Titans Go here. But do
Yeah,
you
Teen Titans
remember
Go.
okay, do you remember the very first episode that featured Red X and the
Yes.
reveal that that ended up being Robin? But he had
Mm-hmm.
all of these different fail safes and conveniences in place,
Mm-hmm.
to fool the Titans into thinking that that wasn't actually that wasn't exactly Robin. Like, for example, there was a
Mm.
hologram that of Robin that they saw saying, "Red X is getting away, go chase him." And of course, it's later revealed that that was a hologram, but still. Or another example, the one where Slade is a figment in Robin's imagination, and the stress of it is literally causing him physical harm.
Oh
But
yeah.
Robin is convinced that he is in this death battle with Slade, and he can't understand that the Titans can't see him.
That- That's definitely misdirection right there.
Mm-hmm. Or again in Scooby Doo, where the person that ends up being the villain, if I'm remembering correctly, because it has been a minute since I've seen Scooby Doo, but um, don't they usually have the villains of Scooby Doo like doing something innocent while the attack is happening as almost like an alibi for themselves?
I think I've seen that before, but
Yeah, those of you guys watching that are Scooby Doo experts, tell us whether or not that's actually a thing.
I mean, I could point it out like kind of like this: Scooby Doo, Curse of the Speed Demon, one of the WWE version ones.
Oh, that's the one that's
I
got the
think,
Undertaker in it.
yep, and I think if I remember right, Triple H and Stephanie McMahon get revealed firstly, but then towards the end, when the Speed Demon was apprehended and
Hmm.
tombstone by the Undertaker, it ends up being that Triple H and Stephanie McMahon were a part of that whole shtick that was the Speed Demon with the help of said wrestlers. Like it's been
Okay,
quite a
but yeah, that's a good example right there. Or I'm trying to think of another one here. Like I said, this is unfortunately one topic that I'm not the most familiar with.
well, I kind of am, but I don't read. I don't. I'm like I am a fan of like mystery shows and stuff like the NCIS's, Scooby Doo's, and stuff like that. But
Hmm.
I I just don't like. I just really don't read that often. Mysteries like um probably another mystery. One of the mystery books that I have read is called The Westing Game. If you ever heard of that,
I am not familiar with that one, unfortunately.
that's all right. But then there's one. It was a it was a movie on Netflix. It was called Knives Out. It had like Daniel Craig. It had
I okay,
Dave.
yes, I had heard of that one. I have not seen it though.
Oh, it was all right. It had its it had its fair share
What
of
was
like
that?
misdirection. I have not.
Was that your fiance laughing in the background?
Unfortunately, you're let.
Oh, it's okay. It's okay. It's fine.
I'm I'm sorry.
It's all right. It's all right, man. And hello in the chat to Jet Sparks. How's it going, man? Jet Sparks, this is a topic I would really like to hear your opinion on if you're able to pop in. But yeah, I all right, I'm going to be honest. Maybe I shouldn't have picked this topic because this is one that's, like I said, I don't know really much about mysteries at all. So
Yeah,
I feel
you
kind of
gave it
under I feel kind of under equipped, you know what I mean?
you gave it the old college try. That's all you gotta. That's all that matters, Paul.
I did. I guess the one thing I've learned from this is that I guess the one thing I've learned is I need to watch slash read more mystery stories.
Yeah, it happens, man.
Yeah.
And like I said, I apologize for the little background noise.
It's all right, man. I know that ultimately what happens in the background can't really be controlled. So, I tell you what, we're going to go ahead and end this stream, but to make up for it, we're going to do some Mario Kart, okay? Can you do that, Glenn?
Yeah, I suppose I can go for a race or two
All right.
or
I'll
three.
I will assemble TDK. We will meet in my Discord and we'll see you guys there. So, I'm not going to do the usual intro, guys. So, stand by. It'll take about 5 minutes to get it turned around, and we're gonna do some Mario Kart. So we'll see you
Yep.
guys there. I'll
Have
play
a
the
good night,
outro.
everyone.
I'll play the outro video though.